According to a new lawsuit obtained by Page Six, the orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influence and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers.
It started like any other day, coffee in hand, casually scrolling through the news. But then, something stopped me mid-sip. Sunny Hostin's name lit up the headlines. And no, it wasn't about her fiery takes on The View.
This is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York. You guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for the kickback.
This time, the spotlight was on her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin. And trust me, the headlines weren't flattering. Dr. Hostin, a well-known orthopedic surgeon, and his practice, Host Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, have landed in the middle of a storm. The allegations, insurance fraud, kickbacks, and, wait for it, being entangled in a sprawling RICO lawsuit with a jaw-dropping 180 defendants.
With mostly everything that's been said, I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system, and doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
This isn't just another lawsuit, folks. This is blockbuster level drama. But before we dive into the chaos, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss a single twist in this Hollywood-sized scandal. Now let's break it all down, legal jargon and all.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sunny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
Just
there.
Go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
The RICO Act, which stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was initially designed to dismantle organized crime. Think mobsters, gangsters, and all that shadowy underworld stuff. But here's the plot twist. It's not the mafia in the hot seat this time. It's doctors, surgeons, and medical practices.
I mean, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all this stuff?
Suddenly, this courtroom showdown feels less like Goodfellas and more like Grey's Anatomy, just with a side of fraud and scandal. The lawsuit claims Dr. Hostin and others were orchestrating a scheme to exploit the healthcare system for profit.
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit. Okay, now let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this about.
Let me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Twites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread insurance.
Allegedly, they received kickbacks for performing unnecessary surgeries and even billed insurance companies for procedures that may never have happened. Imagine this. patients being wheeled into operating rooms, insurance companies footing the bill, while money changes hands behind the scenes like a high-stakes poker game in a hospital.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners.
then
He's
what-
got
what are you
$100 million
saying
contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says,
That's fine.
this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this
And they have.
misinformation?
They have.
And
But here's where it gets even juicier. The lawsuit singles out Dr. Hostin for allegedly receiving financial incentives to recommend or perform arthroscopic surgeries, those minimally invasive joint procedures we've all heard about. On the surface, these surgeries seem perfectly legitimate. After all, who doesn't want a quick fix for knee or shoulder pain? However, the lawsuit takes a darker turn, alleging that some of these procedures weren't medically necessary at all. Were these patients genuinely in need of surgery, or were they unknowingly caught up in a money-making scheme? If the allegations hold water, this isn't just malpractice. It's a betrayal so outrageous, it makes soap opera scandals look downright tame. This case could become one of the most shocking examples of trust being abused in the medical field, leaving patients and insurers alike questioning just how far some are willing to go for a payday. Imagine putting your trust in a doctor, only to discover you were nothing more than a pawn in a high-stakes financial game. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt, it cuts deep. And here's the kicker. This is the largest RICO case ever filed in New York State. Yes, you heard that right. Bigger than any mafia case that's come before it. Let that sink in. The kind of scheming we're talking about here isn't just a minor slip-up. It's the kind of operation that rewrites records. So, what's the alleged game? According to the lawsuit, Dr. Hostin and others were targeting vulnerable groups, including taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers, performing unnecessary surgeries and providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for kickbacks. It wasn't just about inflating bills. It was a system designed to milk insurance companies dry. And here's the twist. On the other side of this legal showdown is American Transit Insurance Company, ADIC, the plaintiff in this case. ADIC claims they've been duped out of millions, alleging that they were billed for surgeries that either never happened or were completely unnecessary. Imagine paying top dollar for steak only to be served tofu. That's the level of outrage here, and ADIC isn't letting it slide. But let's be real. This case isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about trust, integrity, and how far some will go to exploit both. And we're only scratching the surface of this scandal. Insurance companies aren't exactly the heroes of this story either. They've long been accused of underpaying doctors, denying legitimate claims, and exploiting every loophole possible to avoid paying up. So the burning question is this: is ADIC genuinely trying to uncover a massive healthcare scam, or is this just a desperate move by a company teetering on the edge of bankruptcy and looking for someone to blame? Dr. Hostin's lawyer, Daniel Thwaites, wasted no time firing back. He dismissed the lawsuit as a meritless attempt by ADIC to recover its financial losses, calling it a last-ditch effort by a company on the verge of collapse. His defense? Classic courtroom maneuvering. Shift the focus onto ADIC and paint them as the real villains of the story. The courtroom strategy is keeping the drama red hot, turning this legal battle into a high-stakes spectacle. But that's not where the story ends. Enter Joe Rogan, the podcast king and media watchdog. Rogan didn't hold back as he weighed in on the controversy, taking aim directly at The View. He accused Sunny Hostin of hypocrisy, reminding his audience of how she's been quick to slander others in the past, while likely knowing about her husband's alleged shady dealings. Rogan's critique didn't stop there. With his signature blunt style, Rogan roasted the show, calling it out for what he sees as a pattern of uninformed commentary. If you average out the IQ of The View hosts, he quipped, you might still struggle to hit triple digits. Ouch. Rogan's fiery takedown has only added fuel to an already blazing controversy, and it's safe to say this saga isn't cooling down anytime soon. Joe Rogan's fans were eating up his takedown of The View. Meanwhile, Dr. Hostin is left fighting for his reputation in court, and his wife, Sunny Hostin, has been unusually silent. This silence is surprising considering Sunny's usual role on The View as someone who dives headfirst into controversy. But when it comes to her husband's scandal, crickets. Why the silence? Is she standing by her husband, distancing herself from the allegations, or simply waiting for legal advice before making a statement? Fans are buzzing with speculation. Some think she's staying quiet to protect her image. Others suspect she's avoiding the spotlight to prevent becoming the next target of public scrutiny. Either way, her silence is deafening, and it's sparking more questions than answers. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just about Dr. Hostin. He's only one of nearly 200 defendants named in this massive RICO lawsuit. The allegations go far beyond one man, pointing to an entire network of corruption involving doctors, medical practices, and even hospitals. If these claims hold up in court, this could go down as one of the largest medical fraud cases in modern history, a system-wide exploitation of healthcare loopholes for millions of dollars. According to the lawsuit, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical services in exchange for kickbacks and compensation. This isn't just speculation. It's laid out in one of the largest RICO filings New York has ever seen. The Daily Caller, reporting on the case, described it as staggering in scope, with accusations of fraudulent billing practices, unnecessary surgeries, and kickback schemes. Dr. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, dismissed the claims as baseless, but with nearly 200 defendants involved, this case is shaping up to be a legal and media circus of epic proportions. Dr. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Thwaites, has vehemently denied the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case claims that Dr. Hostin performed unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents, failing to explore less invasive treatments first. American Transit Insurance Company, the plaintiff, also cites New York's 1974 no-fault insurance law as a contributing factor to this widespread fraud. It's like the plot of a heist movie, but instead of robbing banks, these alleged criminals are robbing insurance premiums. The heart of this story raises a much bigger question. How much trust do we really have in the healthcare system when money seems to take precedence over patient care? When doctors and insurance companies prioritize profits over people, trust begins to crumble. Patients should feel safe walking into the doctor's office, not like they're stepping into a financial trap. And if Attic is using this lawsuit as a smokescreen to distract from their own financial troubles, they're only worsening the erosion of trust in an already fragile system. This tangled web of accusations, doctors exploiting patients, insurers allegedly mismanaging claims, and a healthcare system driven by profit, paints a grim picture. Untangling it won't be easy, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Whether this case reveals the truth or just adds more layers to the scandal, one thing is certain: the fallout will leave lasting scars on the industry. As of now, Dr. Hostin hasn't been found guilty. These are still just allegations. But one thing's for sure, the courtroom battle ahead promises to be nothing short of a spectacle. Both sides are preparing to throw everything they got into the fight, and the fallout could reshape how we view the healthcare and insurance industries. For now, all we can do is sit back, watch, and try to separate fact from fiction. Regardless of whether Dr. Hostin is guilty or innocent, this case has already exposed some uncomfortable truths about the systems we rely on. It's a harsh reminder that the pursuit of profit can often overshadow ethics, leaving patience and trust in the crossfire. So buckle up. This scandal is far from over. With every twist and turn, we'll be right here, popcorn in hand, following the drama like the high-stakes courtroom showdown it's destined to be. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll catch you in the next video with all the latest twists and turns. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.